I'm Stacy.
Hey, I'm Steph,
Welcome to Harnessing Your Power.
where we discuss everyday topics to break through the stigma and harness our power through self-mastery.
Tune in every Tuesday to join us in conversation as we dig deep into our minds and get closer and closer to our highest self.
Welcome, everybody who is here. Welcome to Harnessing Your Power. We're so excited to have you here. And if you are here with us live every week or most weeks, then you probably know about the giveaway we're having, which I'm really excited about.
Yes.
If you don't know about the giveaway yet, I made it a highlight, but it's on both of our stories. And if you want to check out currently how you can be a part of this giveaway, you can go to www.harnessyourpower.com, www.harnesspowerpodcast.com. But very excited for that. Stacy, how have you been doing on your challenge?
Oh, it has been going good. When I first printed out my copy, I honestly thought I was going to get through the prompts a lot faster. I thought I would even do maybe like more than one in one day, but not that they've been intense, because I think we have a good mix of prompts that are also kind of like lighthearted and inspiring, but they've just been prompts that have actually caused a lot more reflection than I anticipated. And I feel like that's always the case with journaling, is like as soon as you start thinking about it and as soon as you start writing, sometimes like it just keeps going and it just keeps going. But overall, it's been good. I'm about halfway through the prompts myself. And honestly, just really grateful to have the guidance of the prompts as well. I do have a daily goal to read and write something every day. So this has been counting as my writing for the last few days, but it's been nice to have that guidance, like I said. But what about you, Steph? How's it going? How many have you done? How are you feeling about it?
I have about 4 of them done right now. And I came to the realization that one of the things that I said was my favorite thing about journaling was that it's the questions that you normally wouldn't answer, or questions that you normally wouldn't force yourself to answer. And I feel like it's been very transparent, or like it's been very apparent to me doing these, because there was a journal prompt that I got to and I was just like, I don't know the answer to that. And forcing myself to dig a little deeper has been fun, but also not fun, if that makes any sense at all. But I do love the accountability and the guidance of prompts, and also the accountability of being on here and doing this with others and doing this with you. And I love that about this. But with that being said, do you have a favorite prompt or a least favorite prompt?
Oh, well, for one, I can definitely relate. Journaling is that like really having to sit with yourself and like dig deeper. And there's also one question that I was kind of the same. Like I just felt like I don't even know how to answer this. I almost felt like this one's too hard. I'm just gonna skip it. Like if I had like bought this set of journal prompts or like found it somewhere else, I probably would have skipped this prompt. But then I was like, well, like we put this there, so I think, we should do it. But I feel like that's what's so amazing about journaling, is even if the question like seems hard to answer at first, it causes you to reflect more of like, well, why is this hard to answer? And if I can't answer it, then like, am I not having that awareness to that part of my life, or am I not controlling that part of my life? So one question that was a little bit hard to answer was, when was the last time I let myself feel something or do something without judging myself? What was the result? And I feel like I could think about, like what kind of like the right answer would be. And honestly, that's usually how my journaling goes if I'm answering a prompt. Usually, like, the first few lines I'll write are kind of more of like how I would answer it to a friend, or like what I think is the right answer, if that makes sense. And then as I let myself like keep going and getting more into my truth, like it'll come out. But with that prompt, I felt like I knew, like, oh, like I don't judge myself ever. I feel like that all the time, right? Like that's what I want to say. But then I was like, okay, like, can I think of like a specific example? And then it was kind of like you said, like no, or like I don't know. But then I'm like, well, I think I could though. I think that would just be the easy way out of it. Like I think I could think of something, and I, you know, could feel good for the times that I'm not judging myself, and maybe it can also bring awareness to where I still need to work on that. But I honestly just wrote 2 lines for now, and I have to come back to that one. That one's tabled, the bottom of the stack. We'll come back to it. But how did you feel about that question or that prompt? And did you have any other ones that maybe you didn't love? Or not that you didn't love, but that were a little bit resistance at first?
No, I know what you mean, because when you said if you would have got these prompts somewhere else, you probably would have skipped it. I did skip it. I looked at it and I was like, I don't actually know how to answer this. And I sat there for a second. I was like, just thinking back to a lot of scenarios, and also really taking that time to reflect, like, wow, you really do either second guess yourself a lot, or just, I don't know, when it says without judgment, thinking about all the times that maybe I've placed judgment on myself without even realizing that that's what I was doing. And it's just caused me to think a lot deeper. So I did put that one at the end. I was like, I'll come back to that. But for right now, I'm going to skip it. And I did. But that was specifically the one that I feel like I've had the most resistance with. Other than that, I feel like I've actually had a lot of good brain dumps on these. And I do specifically love that the way that it was made, where it was like getting to know yourself first. But I also love that you can choose, okay, wait, I need to think about this a little bit more. I will come back to this.
Yeah, exactly. I love that, because I feel like when we are taking like a few days to like ponder on the prompt and come back to it, that's like so much growth right there. Even if you're not thinking about it the whole time over those few days, it's like this like new thing that you're like, whoa, like I don't know about that. But that's still in your mind for these next few days. So that'll be interesting to see if you start to like, and me too, since I skipped it too, but if we start to notice like places that we're actually doing that. Like I wonder if we're going to be more aware now, if we're going to catch ourselves like in these moments of times that I judged myself than times that I didn't judge myself.
Same. And I feel like it's almost natural to like kind of place some judgment on yourself and like really think back, was that the right thing? Was that not the right thing? And even if it's just the smallest thing, I feel like it's natural for us to do so. But how much more authentic is or are certain feelings in our lives, or certain things that we do, if we do them with no judgment to ourselves. So I'm excited to be more aware of that as well. Do you have a favorite?
Yes, I do. And it's actually the very first question. It's just one of my favorite journal prompts in general. I've done it multiple times, and that's why I love it, because every time I answer it different. And it's like the dream just keeps expanding, and like the vision becomes more clear, But the first prompt was, if money, time, location, or any other limitation did not exist and literally anything was possible, what would my life look like? If I could be, have, or do anything I desire, what would that look like? Be specific and dream big. Challenge yourself to think outside of the realm of what feels possible. So I love how we added that line in there, because I've done this journal prompt a few times but only recently was it presented to me again with that extra line of like, think beyond what you think is possible right now. Because what you think is possible right now is with the mindset and the skills and everything that you have right now. But we're talking about like if anything was possible in your biggest dream. So you have to think beyond of like what you think ever feels possible, you know? And I feel like that's just so powerful, especially in like this time period of these last few years of different things being like literally unavailable, or like especially when it comes to travel. Like a lot of times with that question, I love to think about all the trips I want to go on, and travel hasn't really been like that these last few years or however long it's been. So it's fun for me to like think beyond that. Like, don't let my mind tell me like, you know, oh, you can't actually travel there right now. Like, no, just literally think beyond that. And it's so inspiring. And like I said, every time I come back to that prompt, it just builds bigger and bigger, and like it gets me really excited. And I really do like journal prompts that kind of are like uplifting in that way. But what about you, Steph? What is your favorite?
Well, first, I love that you said thinking outside of the realm of what's possible right now. And I do love that we added that in there as well, because I feel like I wrote down all the things that I was like, okay, this is what I would do. And then I was like, okay, wait, if it was outside of any possibilities right now, outside of how you were saying the mindset that we have right now, the things that we have right now, what would I do? But also when it comes to certain goals, or like entrepreneurship goals, or maybe like even podcast goals or things like that, and thinking outside of what's possible now, really realizing that thinking outside of what's possible now is still possible now. But once you write it down, it feels more real. It feels more like, hey, not even that now I can do this. It's like you can always do it. You always have everything that you need. Sometimes it just takes a little more searching, or a little more digging, or a little more work. But I just, having had the chance to write that down and really force yourself to think out of what is possible right now feels very freeing.
Yes. And that was such a good way to put it. It really is like that. I feel like it just takes you to that like dream state, you know?
Yes, I agree. But my personal favorite, so I have one that's specifically my favorite, but I specifically love the flow that we have of these two. Because we have one that says, finish these statements. 3 traits my future self will have are: I have an opportunity to be my future self today when I think about who I'm becoming, I feel. But my specific favorite one is the one right after, because it's, I wake up today as my highest self. I already accomplished my biggest goals and dreams. What does my day look like as my ideal self? And I love that the one before that forces you to think, okay, what traits will I have? But writing it out as, okay, I woke up today as my highest self. I've accomplished the things I want to accomplish, the traits that I have from the page before. And that is one that I've done a few times, but every single time, I just love the feeling of writing as my highest self. And that's always,
because it takes you there. It's the same thing. Like it takes you there. You like, that is literally what people talk about of like with manifesting, like bringing that feeling to now.
Yes. And even not forcing, but like really like just imagining that feeling, visualizing that, being able to be there now, and realizing like, oh, I could be right there. I'm almost there. I just have to take a few more steps. But I feel like that's something I wouldn't always force myself to write down, and to be able to have that guidance, to be able to have that prompt to remind myself, oh yeah, maybe I should step into that every now and again, has been very nice. So that one's been my favorite, and is my favorite prompt that we have.
Yes, I love it. It's exactly like what you said of that, like writing it down, making it more like legit. Like it's, I feel like with some of these things, sometimes it feels like, oh, my highest self is so far away. But then when you write it down like that, it's like, wait, like I'm almost right there.
Yes.
But at the same time, like it can also like help point to different areas where maybe you still need to grow or different things like that with listing out the traits. Maybe there's
Yeah.
some traits you're already embodying, and maybe there's some traits that like you're working to grow into.
Yes, that
I'm just
realization.
laughing thinking about my own answer.
I love that. No, but seriously, like figuring out, okay, what do I need to get out of here to be there?
Mm,
Yeah.
I love that. Wow. Um, well, I feel like we've kind of like touched on this a bit, but just in general, if you could put some adjectives to it or kind of describe, especially for some people who might be tuning in who are new to journaling, um, Steph, how do you usually feel after journaling? And I'm so interested to hear your answer because I feel like it could go a lot of ways.
Yes. No, so I feel like there was at one point where I like almost didn't even want to journal because it felt like, I don't know, it felt like there was just, I didn't know where to start. There was a lot of things to put on paper. My thoughts were scattered. I didn't know how to be organized about journaling and how do you, like, what's the right way to journal. But I feel like once you realize there is no right way to journal and you don't have to be organized about journaling, I feel like I really enjoy literally just brain dumps. Like, hey, I'm just going to take a sheet of paper and I'm just going to write stuff everywhere. So I feel like once I got past that resistance, um, Josh, a friend, had recently sent me a meme, and it was a picture of it was like a guy, and he was all colored in red, and he was writing, and within the next few pictures, all of the red that was, colored into this guy was slowly going into the paper. And I feel like a lot of times I feel really good after writing. I feel like I've been able to let everything out and just feel like I can breathe, or just feel like literally a breath of fresh air. And I mean, maybe that's not always the case. I don't always feel like, I'm not going to sit here and say every time I write stuff down, I always feel fantastic afterwards. But the process of being able to release some thoughts, it's nice. It's really like talking to yourself, communicating with yourself, and being able to just have a conversation with yourself. And I feel like that's really nice. How about you?
Yes, I love that. I love how you said being able to communicate with yourself, because I know that's how we kind of brought on this topic of journaling. And that's exactly what it is to me. And that's why I love it so much, because I feel like we spend so much of our time communicating with others or striving to communicate with others and not feeling heard or understood or valid or this or that. And like journaling has been so instrumental for me to realize that the most important person to communicate with is myself. And literally sometimes I've journaled when I've been really upset about something or just really, really strong emotions. And then I literally feel like that same like closure as if I like talk to a friend about it from journaling. Or sometimes it's even better. Sometimes I see like a perspective and like, I don't know, you just get that like overall sense of release. And I think that's what it is, especially when you mentioned like a brain dump and just kind of like letting it out. And that meme you described is literally it, like just letting out all this stuff you're holding on to. And I agree that sometimes maybe I've actually been like more upset. Sometimes I journal like with prompts and like in the morning for inspiration and like reflection and stuff like that. And then I also have a few journals that I guess are almost more like diary type of situations where it's just like writing out about different stuff that I'm feeling or that's happening or whatever. And I actually do that sometimes on my phone too, if I'm out and I just feel like I got to get it out. And that's literally like what it's become. Like now it's almost to the point where sometimes I feel like I have to do that. Like I feel like I have to get this out. And sometimes, like I said, I'm more upset. Like sometimes I'm like, okay, well, I got it out. And yes, I'm valid for being upset. so now I'm more upset. And now actually writing it out made me think of like three more reasons to be upset. So like sometimes that actually does happen to me in that moment, but because there was still that act of a release and there was still that act of like letting it go, I'll usually feel a lot better a lot faster than other times that I might not journal. So there's that. And then when I'm journaling, like with prompts and for some light reflection and like inspiration and stuff like that, I feel like I always feel good and energized. It's really interesting to me how like an act of a release can actually be energizing because you're like letting go of all that other stuff. So now you have all this like free energy for like beautiful things.
Yes. And there's two things that you had said. The first one, you were talking about spending time like communicating with others and feeling unheard or misunderstood. And I feel like exactly that. When you're communicating with yourself, you give yourself a chance to understand yourself more. And I feel like, okay, cool, nobody knows you better than you is something that I've heard a lot of people say.
Mm,
But how well do we really know ourselves? How often do we really make it a thing to understand ourselves and really look at, okay, why do I do this? Why do I specifically get triggered by certain things? Or why does this make me upset? But I feel like when you're writing things down and making yourself aware of those things, it's so helpful and it helps you understand you. And also, how nice is it to have that space where you can feel heard by yourself? Or
mm.
not by yourself, but yeah, by yourself, for yourself.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah. And then, ooh, you had said one other thing I wanted to touch on. Okay, well, I don't remember, so maybe we'll come back to that if I remember.
Okay.
um,
I was gonna give you a clue to remember, but I almost don't remember what I said at this point. You know, sometimes these
yes.
podcasts are just flow. Like when we prep stuff, sometimes we prep like a whole outline and then we just get up here and like flow. So what I said 2 minutes ago, not sure.
No, it's cool. Hopefully I'll remember and we'll come back to it. But yeah, other than that, I really just love the way that you spoke about that and being able to communicate with yourself. Oh, I remembered what I was going to say. I knew I'd remember. Um, when you were talking about um, getting stuff out, I think sometimes, especially people who know about or have recently dove into like the law of attraction and like, you know, attracting things into your life, I think I myself was really hesitant to write negative things, or to sit here and like if I was really upset, like I'd maybe not necessarily avoid it, like yes I would write it, but I would look to write it in the most positive way possible. And I think sometimes we need that space to let the negative out, let the sucky stuff out, and like you said, feel that energy. And I feel like the first time that I really let myself do that was because I was actually listening to another podcast. I was listening to Manifestation Babe. And she said that. And she said, if you've never given yourself permission to write out the negative stuff, this is it. This is your permission. Go write all the negative stuff and then forget it. Obviously, don't write negative things every day, but can you sit here, write it out, and be like, okay, this was nice. And if you really, really, really hate all the things on that paper, then go and burn them or go rip it up, get rid of it, and let it go. And I feel like that's where that release feels like, ah, oh,
Yeah.
it's good. But I feel like I did have a lot of hesitation for writing that negative.
I love that you brought this up because I think it's going to relate with some of our listeners. And I've actually had someone ask me that before, like, oh, I actually was telling them all about the power of like writing, like what you're grateful for and like all this. And then we talked about like journaling and they were like, well, why would you write all that stuff if everything you just told me about like the power of like writing stuff down, why would you do that? And then I was like, I don't have an answer right now, but I love the way you explained it because I feel like that is like really the thing, like giving yourself the permission and the space to feel it and let it go. Because just only trying to suppress it and spin it in a positive way sometimes is how like some of those like negative emotions can cause like a persistent whatever, like however it shows up. And something that I've started doing with my journaling sometimes when I'm kind of just like having a dump of like not the way I want to be feeling, I'll like write that at the top. Like I'll write like the first thing, like this is how I'm feeling right now, but I know it's temporary. Boom. And then like I'll just go from there because I used to like worry about that too, just specifically writing like I am really mad or like something that I was like fully like bringing in this feeling. Like I didn't want to take not full ownership of it because I wanted to, like take ownership of my emotions, but I didn't want to like fully bring that in to like say that's what I am. But then I used to do that too. I used to like kind of like hold myself back when I was journaling and I was like, this is weird. This is not what it's supposed to be. So now I feel like I just write this like statement at the top that like, hey, like I just need to get this out and then I'll be good. And then I don't care about how I write it all. And then I just feel like that's it. Like it is so powerful, that like feeling of that release.
Yes. Not giving ourselves those restrictions.
Yes, exactly. Oof, I love journaling.
Me too. One last thing about restrictions, when you talked about this is like writing on that page, this is how I'm feeling right now. When like me specifically, I don't know where I heard this. It might have been Manifestation Babe, it might have not been. But anytime I'm writing like a positive thing or something that I want to manifest, or even like that prompt where we're talking about waking up as our highest self, at the very bottom, I always write this or better. Because I don't want to give myself that restriction that that's the best, because the best is yet to come and there's always more where that came from and there's always so much good to come. So that's just a little tip that I heard somewhere else that I love
that.
And carry on.
I love that. There is always more, always better. Yes. Well, it is always better and it is always getting better because not only can you get these amazing prompts for free at our website, but if you download them this week and you start going through them and participate in our challenge, you have a chance to win some really awesome prizes. Yeah. Like these really cute journals to keep your journal practice going.
I love the colors on that.
Literally. You can just look at, definitely journal, but you can also just look at this for inspiration.
Yeah.
And you're good. And one person will also win this amazing Bluetooth speaker. So you can listen to some good vibes while you're journaling. And one person will also win $25 cash to really motivate you. That prize is for our listeners who are maybe new to the journal practice, maybe a little hesitant to get started. No better time to get started than when you could win $25.
Yes. Or even a speaker. Yes. I know you mentioned last time you take it to the beach, and I was like, that's how you know it's a good speaker. But for anybody who has seen this already and seen the date that we put, we're actually going to be extending this until Wednesday. So a week from today, we will be announcing the winners. So we are excited to, do you want to tell them, or do you want me to tell them what they have to do to win?
Yeah, you can let them know.
All right, perfect. So in order to win, when you're doing your journal prompts, just go ahead and write out a post. You don't have to write your actual journal prompts. You don't have to share anything too personal, but go ahead and write out a post either on your page or on your story where you tag both myself and Stacy and hashtag harnessing your power. And then just let us know how your journaling is going. Let us know your experience. Let us know if you're loving it. You can let us know if you're not loving it. But just give us something and let us know. You can enter as many times as you want, as many posts as you want. One post equals one entry. And then again, we will be announcing the winners on Wednesday, and we will have 3 winners. And I'm very excited about the prizes because they're very cute journals that Stacy just showed us. and everything else I'm really excited about as well. So we look forward to seeing your guys' posts. And other than that, Stacy, is there anything you would like to add about the challenge?
No, I definitely look forward to seeing everyone's posts and hearing, maybe your favorite and least favorite prompts. Like Steph said,
Yes.
definitely let us know your honest feelings about it.
Yes.
And make sure to go to www.harnesspowerpodcast.com to download your copy. And yeah, we will see you guys here next week. I can't wait to finish up my journal prompts, and we'll see if I get back to that one that I skipped. We'll have to check in next week about it.
Oh my gosh, yes, we can definitely talk about that. And maybe your guys' favorites and least favorite will be similar to ours.
Yes.
So, as always, thank you, Stacy, for being here with me. Thank you to everybody who's been on this live, for anybody who's listening to the podcast or the recording. Thank you to everybody who's planning on participating. We will see you next week.
All right. Bye. See you later.
Bye. See you later.